Hello and welcome to a spooky episode of Predictocast, the podcast where we predict the plot of a movie we know nothing about, spookily. I'm Josh, and with me as always is Spooky Skinner.
Josh, we've been doing this for so many years, and you always do this voice for, 4 years now? Do you have any feedback that anyone likes it?
No!
Awesome. Welcome back to October, everybody.
Yeah, but to make it extra spooky, we are joined by a spooky guest. We're talking about what is ostensibly a kind of horror comedy, and when I think of horror, I think of one person and one person only, and that is returning champion, returning guest, friend of ours, Gina Radcliffe. Hi, Gina.
Ooh, I'm coming to you from beyond the veil.
See, Josh, this is how you do it.
Oh, okay. That's fair. Gina did it better than me. I will admit it. So, yeah, we are here to talk about probably our, biggest movie that we've ever done on the show, I would think. And certainly the movie that is made by the most accomplished set of filmmakers that we've ever made you watch and talk about, Gina.
Yes. No, not a single talking dog to be found in this film.
Or evil lamp.
No, yeah, people that you've actually heard of are involved in this movie, and that, of course, is Jennifer's Body from 2009. And, we talked a little bit in the mini episode last week about kind of our thoughts on why the movie bombed and the perceptions of the movie. And we had some ideas, obviously, with, in regards to Megan Fox and people's sort of taste or distaste for her, and then her involvement with the whole Transformers and Michael Bay stuff and some comments she made, and if that caused some issues, and so there was a lot of that speculation. Gina, do you have any thoughts on why this didn't do well? Also sexism, of course, but do you have any thoughts about why this kind of bombed?
Yeah, it's predominantly sexism. You've got a ostensible horror movie that is written by a woman, directed by a woman, and starring two young women, where in which predominantly the victims in it are men. I think it's honestly an issue of timing. If this movie had come out now, I think it would have done a lot better and would have been met with far more generous criticism than it received upon its release. And it seems odd to say because you're talking about a difference of 12 years.
Yeah, not much.
Yeah, it's not a lot, but I do think that the climate is more open to that sort of thing now. But it's not just Megan Fox; it's also a lot of the negativity was for Diablo Cody.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that too. I think maybe some of the backlash to the sort of cutesiness of Juno, and there is some of that here, and there's some stuff that is a little much for me.
My primary issue with the movie is and this is the thing with Diablo Cody is her dialogue is painful. It is painful to listen to at times. It's very and it's odd because if you watch Young Adult, it's not really there. But in this and in Juno, everybody just sounds very quippy and everything is very sarcastic and none of it sounds very natural. And I think that because that quickly became her trademark, that a lot of film critics and audience was no, this is a one-trick pony. We're not really interested in anything else she does.
I hate to say this because of what we know about how scuzzy he can be, but Juno and Jennifer's Body sort of fall into that Joss Whedon-y, quippy, fast-talking thing that teens do that in TV shows that they don't do in real life. And maybe she had because those were her first two scripts, so maybe she kind of worked some of that stuff out of her system by the time she got to writing Young Adult, which was, I think, her next actual movie script. She'd done some TV show, The United States of Terra in between them. But Young Adult, she had maybe smoothed off some of those edges maybe and worked in what she was actually maybe what she wanted to say.
I wonder, like, because in a way, like, that dialogue, better or worse, was what kind of, if you ask people like about Juno, like they're like, oh, Juno has that dialogue, whether you love it or not. You wouldn't drop what made you famous the next movie.
No, of course not. But there's just something about it. It doesn't really work for me here.
No, it doesn't really work for me either. But like, speaking like of 2009, it being so close but so far away, I was reading the Wikipedia as you do on a podcast, and they talked about this. Of course, had a graphic novel tie-in because you had to, right?
Yeah.
And what's the first thing they fucking do for this thing is flesh out the male characters and have it be from their perspective, where Jennifer is just kind of the Jaws shark coming to get them. And who the fuck cares? They aren't characters. Well, they're fodder.
It's because comic books are for men, and they need to read comic characters that are like them.
And so is horror comedy, and
yes.
Horror comedy is generally geared towards a male audience, and I think that people didn't know what to do with this very female-led movie in which the main character gleefully terrorized and murdered men.
Men stereotypes, like they're just just posters of a type of person.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, the jock, the god.
Not really given any personality, not particularly likable in any way.
Well, that's like the thing. Like the graphic novel description, at least on the Wikipedia, says like, well, it lets you come to grips whether they deserve to die or not. It doesn't matter. That's not what the story is about. Whether they deserve to die or not. They're straw people to put up for the statement this movie is trying to make that everyone, I think, kind of missed. And the really, like, as much as like the shallowness of, like, to me, like the quote unquote backlash to Megan Fox, and you read the reviews from people are just fucking horrible to her, and talking about like just like kind of acting like any of the homosexual parts of this movie are like just thrown in and just stupid. But like, I wonder how many of the men reviewing this movie fucking saw the previews for this movie, and it's called Jennifer's Body, and they were like, fuck it, great, I'm finally going to watch this movie that's R-rated horror, and I'm going to see Megan Fox's tits. And they didn't get it, and they were fucking pissed walking out.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
Yeah,
like, I was promised her body, and there was hair over them, and I only saw her bare back. That's an F. Like,
I think that is true, because I mean, no one is going to. I mean, obviously, Gina, you do the excellent podcast Kill by Kill, where you do delve into the kills, one by one, and you really do kind of delve into who the characters are a little bit, because that is a non-explored area of slashers. But they're doing this comic tie-in, and they're doing something that they never would have done for a Friday the 13th or a Nightmare on Elm Street movie of like, let's get to know who these people are before they start getting slashed in half by Jason. Like, no one cares. They are there to be killed. It doesn't matter that maybe they didn't deserve it or not. Like, in horror films, that's typically how it goes. People who don't deserve it meet grisly ends, and that's just what happens.
Well, one of the great lines in the movie is, "Well, you kill people." "No, I only kill boys." So, and that's such a great line. But you know that there probably a lot of sensitive moviegoers who are like, hey.
Well, I think it's like another, like, if you really want to knock it down, like really like see where they nailed it in. It's like Chip is kind of portrayed as an okay guy. He doesn't do anything terrible for most movies. He's a normal boyfriend, but he still fucking kisses the other girl, and then he dies. Like, none of the boys ever don't go after her. So like, I mean, like, it's trying to say, like, very clearly, like, yeah, guys think with their dick. Like, even the nice guy thinks with his dick. Well,
we know that about him from the beginning, when she's about to go out with, Jennifer to the bar, and they start kissing, and he immediately goes for his to undo his belt. Like, that's immediately the next thing that's on his mind. And yeah, it's it's definitely trying to do something. And I think, Gina, you're right that if this had come out even 5 years later, I think maybe there would be a more accepting audience for it. Not that there wasn't at the time, but that because it just got so like, ravaged by the critics that people didn't really stick with it or go to it like they would have. And I think obviously it developed a bit of a cult following on, once it became available on home video and everything. But yeah, I do think that if it had come out a little bit later, it probably would have been much more widely accepted. And people would have dug it, and it probably would have become a bit more cult movie, faster.
I think it's funny that like this movie plot wise falls on the in the future like would be appreciated more line, right? Yet also dialogue wise, it falls on that really hard line of history of it's okay to say the R word.
Yeah, let's be clear. That part, it's still, that really hurt me. The amount of times that they use the R word in this movie or some derivation thereof, I was like, ooh, this is rough. Like this is 2009. Like it was acceptable in movies at that time, but it wasn't acceptable.
We were getting it out of our system hard right here. We're saying every last second chance we could, I guess. Before we,
a lot of the dialogue is as the kids call it, very cringe.
Yes.
But you could tell at the time it was supposed to be, well, this is what cool kids sound like, and this is what this is what all the kids are saying these days. They're like, is it though?
There's literally like the cool kids. They don't sound that smart. They just generally have less acne and are a little taller, a little skinnier. And the loser kids, I've been around them too. Was one no, not that smart sounding. Like, I don't care how good your grades are. No, most people aren't talking in dialogue. So that's good. But like, there are some like, certain parts where it like, if it had been less of the dialogue, I think certain things would have zinged more.
Yeah.
But, like touring the shitty areas more, that was a good line for the evil devil worshipping band.
Yeah, I liked all of that stuff. So let's go through this thing. And I would say, I mean, I guess I'll go ahead and say up front, like, I think it's probably worth a watch. I mean, just understand that some of the dialogue is a little dated, but I think overall it's a pretty decent, fun horror comedy. I think less on the comedy side, but I think it's still pretty decent.
Yeah. I would, it's a solid 3-star movie for me.
I agree.
Out of 5. I think it certainly did not warrant the excoriating reviews that it got. And I think that a lot of critics, that was a very good example of a lot of film writers. And I say this, I am a film writer, inability to look past their distaste of a certain actor in order to give a movie they're in a fair review.
Yeah.
If you read a lot of the reviews of Jennifer's Body, they very much feel like, this was an axe this person had to grind, and that they went into this movie, not even hoping that they weren't going to enjoy it. And it kind of taints the whole thing for me. It's like you no matter what, you were intent on not liking this movie.
Oh, it's so harsh, and like for the simple fact that like for the character who Jennifer is in the movie, like Megan Fox is good casting.
She is not bad at all in this. She's absolutely fine in it.
And she tried. It's from the sounds of it, she tried harder than she should have. People, stop hurting your body and getting yourself and unfeeding yourself.
Oh my God! I saw that trivia bit that she lost
to look
15
dead in a
pounds
movie.
or something. You're like, so she was like 97 pounds in this movie.
No thanks.
Yeah, she is playing. Her character is not likable, but she's not supposed to be. She's supposed to be the stereotypical, bitchy but beautiful popular girl that nobody likes but everybody wants.
But Gina, she's the main character, so she's the protagonist.
You're hitting on this amazing point that I is off topic, but not really. So people go into these movies and they put their perception of the actor onto the character. And so like this with Jennifer's Body is a great example where people didn't like Megan Fox for whatever reason. And so they're going to go in and they're going to go, well, I hate her in this movie. Like she's doing badly. Well, no, she's not, because the character is supposed to be evil even before she's possessed by a demon. Like
right.
she's supposed to be this way. And it's the same thing that came up with with all the folks talking about like Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and how they did not want to believe that his character killed his wife in that movie. Like they're like, no, he couldn't have done it, because they like Brad Pitt, and they didn't want to believe that this character who we're following this entire movie could be a bad guy. It could be a murderer. And it's like people, I think, sometimes have a hard time disconnecting from actors are not the characters they're playing, and vice versa. So characters can be bad. Characters can do terrible things. And like, it's not just because you like them as an actor doesn't mean you can't even entertain the possibility that they might do a bad thing.
Right, exactly. And I think that if you came away from this movie, like hating her character, she did a good job.
Yeah, she's a demon for half of it. Like you're supposed to not like her.
The movie delves in a little bit into the weird friendships of teenage girls where they don't actually seem to like each other very much. I mean, for me, and I'm sure I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said about this movie 100 times before, there's a huge element of the movie Heathers to this for me.
Sure. Where
you've got these people who are friends with people, have been friends with them forever, and they can no longer remember why. They don't have anything in common anymore. Their conversations are laced with insults and jealousy and it's but what are you going to do? Just not be friends anymore? You can't do that.
This is me and Skinner on the podcast.
Oh,
isn't that right, butthead?
I feel so bad. Why don't if you nicknamed me butthead for the entire show, like it's like at some point I would hope to have some sort of self-realization that maybe things aren't great for me. If everyone calls you fucking needy as your name, you like maybe sit back and go, why? That's not a good nickname. I have to leave the town if everyone's going to call me this. Like I have to leave here.
Right up front at the beginning of the movie, I saw the the 20th Century Fox thing, and it's like, oh, that's nice. We may never see that logo again. But then I was reminded on screen it says Fox Atomic presents, and I was like, did Fox have the most weird subsidiaries of their movies? It was like Fox Atomic, Fox 2000, like all of these things that they had for like just random film imprints for them, and they're all gone now.
Just like one or two movies under each one.
Yeah.
This was the last Fox Atomic project that made it to screen.
Well, and also maybe the first one. I don't know.
Yeah, because it didn't make a nickel at the theater. So I was like, well, no more of this shit.
John Cena's 12 Rounds was 3 movies before this.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah.
Okay. And no one has ever forgotten that movie.
Yeah, they made like 5 sequels to that.
Sure did. So many rounds.
So we open with sort of the typical kind of monster POV. We see this POV moving up a lawn towards a house. Very sort of It Follows in a way. And we move into a room and we see our titular Jennifer, Megan Fox, picking at her skin and chewing her hair as something kind of creeps outside. And she's watching a Tony Little infomercial.
2009, baby.
The Gazelle. I feel like that was much earlier than 2009, but maybe I'm wrong. But man,
I think he was still plugging away in 2009.
Man, I I can't imagine what he's up to now. Is he dead? Is he?
Let's do the fun thing. It is, it's October now. It's been a long time. Let me Google if he is anti-mask or COVID.
Oh God.
He is still alive. I did
Thanks
see
to the gazelle.
That. Yeah, he's still alive. And weirdly, it lists his height on Google, and he is much, much shorter than I was expecting.
Well, that explains why he's incapable of speaking at any volume level except 12.
Screaming, yeah. He's only 5'6", which is that seems very small for him. Like I feel like he's just the way he looks on that machine. It feels like he should be 6'3" or something.
If you look up Tony Little COVID on Google, there are many, many articles that come up spanning from April 2020 to September 2020, like that all the same headline: Tony Little is back ... to save the 2020 election.
that doesn't bode well.
He wanted to make sure everybody got out to vote despite coronavirus.
Okay. Well, that's fine. It's not, it's not him saying that, we need to stop the steal or anything. So I guess that's good.
That we know
But if you needed the stamina to stop a steal.
Yeah. Use the gazelle. How many of the Capitol insurrectionists use the gazelle, have a gazelle in their home that they just put clothes on?
Okay, okay, that I can see. Well, like, there's one. I was to say there's at least one that I can think of off the top of my head that I know didn't use a gazelle.
Oh no! Well, it's the Halloween month, so let's get real dark with it. So back to the movie. We see Amanda Seyfried, who is playing Needy. She's outside. She's in a hood, or a hoodie rather, watching her through the window, and Jennifer looks really kind of pale and sickly. And then we get narration, and we see that Needy is in a prison. And
you might wonder how she got there.
It is exactly that. We see her in the prison. We see her, fight with one of the doctors who suggests that maybe she should eat more complex carbohydrates throughout the day to have more energy. And she kicks her across a table, and is thrown into the hole, basically, and does in her narration, "You're probably wondering how I got here," and then flashback to 2 months earlier before it all went to shit, basically.
Hey, what's a Chester?
A Chester? I don't know. There's some slang in here that I'm like, did Diablo Cody make that up, or is that a thing?
Yeah, I think she makes up a lot of the terminology that she uses.
I'm gonna look up
okay, never mind. It's a slang. Oh, because she gets. Oh, okay, that makes more sense. She gets a lot of fan mail from perverts and Chesters, aka child molesters.
That's not like something I want to talk about enough where I have to squeeze those words together.
Yeah, to save time. I'm talking about pedophiles so much. Oh, so that means the QAnon people really love that abbreviation.
I'm just trying to think about them saying Chesters now, and everyone like.
So yeah, we flash back to before everything went to shit, and they live in a place called Devil's Kettle in Minnesota, I believe. So not far from you, Skinner.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some sort of kettle and some sort of devil.
Apparently that is a real thing. Apparently Devil's Kettle is it's a real waterfall. It's in where is it? The North Shore of Lake Superior. It's in a park.
Oh, cool. Somewhere along the world's largest lake. Well, that narrows it down.
It's close to you, right?
I've been there.
It's either 5 miles or 900 miles.
It's somewhere along that coast that just looks like an ocean when you're near it. I know because I grew up next to an ocean.
So, they live there in this kind of smallish town. The town is named for this waterfall that has they don't know where it empties. It just goes to nowhere. Apparently, they don't know how
Trump
deep it is.
In that shit.
I do like that we see some scientists throwing oranges in there or something in there to try to measure. And my only like disappointment was that didn't come back in some way. I was certain that like when they do the sacrifice, they're going to throw her in the hole, or that she gets like she has to kick her into the hole at the end of the movie or something. Like I was certain that there was going to be some kind of return.
I didn't see you just sit at the end of the movie going, but where was the fucking hole?
Yes. I mean, you don't give me a hole to nowhere and don't play it out, and you don't give me Lance Henriksen at the end of the movie for half a scene.
That was a scene that just basically said, like, we know this movie's going to be on predictocast at some point, so we've got to get Lance Henriksen in there.
I was like so excited when he showed up, and I was like, let's have 15 more minutes of this movie with him.
That'd be fun. Chris Pratt's in this movie
for about 17 seconds.
It's pretty funny.
Good amount.
Yes, exactly. It's pretty funny to see people who pop up in this and like know how like different their star levels are now. Like to see them, like he's in this for barely any time at all. Like I didn't even know that he died in the fire until he just never showed back up in the movie. And I was like, well, I guess that guy died. But then you see like, but now he's this, huge movie star, obviously.
And probably would never again elect to play a character who's basically having sex with an underage girl.
Yeah. He wouldn't do that. And then you have like Amanda Seyfried working with like David Lynch and stuff, and like, and Megan Fox. I mean, she's not, I don't know if she's really acting anymore or if she has done any acting recently. I did not look at her filmography, but it's...
And we have Johnny Simmons, who was one of the main roles of Girl Boss for 13 episodes.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, she's still doing plenty of stuff. Appearing in her boyfriend / husband, I don't know if they're married, Machine Gun Kelly music videos.
Yeah, it is interesting that she criticizes Amanda Seyfried's taste in men in this movie. I'm just going to leave it at that.
The gut reaction to someone saying Machine Gun Kelly is instinctually, yeah. But J.K. Simmons is really the one you want to watch in this movie to see like how
I love that changed. I love that he has a hook hand, and it's just never explained why he has a hook hand.
I think they do go into it. I'll get into it when we get to his character, but yeah. So let's get through this so we can get to him. But it's like 2 months prior. She's friends with Jennifer, who's in like the color guard, like flag twirler, and they're all friendly. But it seems like Needy might have more than just friendly affection for Jennifer. Someone calls her out on it as if they're in some sort of lesbian relationship.
Is it lesbian gay? Because you have to squish everything.
The only female classmate that interacts with either of them, which is, I feel it's an interesting, one of the things I find interesting about where they take this movie is it's almost at times as if Needy is the only person who can see Jennifer, at least in school, because nobody really seems to acknowledge her for being so popular and desired. She's never seen talking to any other girls.
She's not relevant anymore. Remember, she's not. They talk about it at the end that she has been relevant for 2 years.
Right, and the way that the school kind of works is very fascinating to me, because it's sort of like this alleged hierarchy that both of them have in the school doesn't really seem to be present except in their own minds.
Yeah, I mean they're like, it's not like they're hanging with different crews. They're both not with anybody else.
Right, they're their own little country of two people. Neither of them seem to have any other female friends.
Yeah,
and no other female character in the movie really has any agency other than they chase after boys.
Right,
we have multiple boys who have crowds of girls around them in this movie.
Yeah. The edgy teen talk starts very early on with them calling each other Vagisil and Monostat. And I was like, oh no, this is what we're in for. I forgot about this. I forgot about like the hipstery lingo of Diablo Cody's early work. And I was like, oh boy, we are in for it.
Yeah, if you want to just sort of watch this with the volume turned down, that's probably all right. You can generally keep up with what's going on.
Yeah, there's some cool visuals I think throughout, and there's some decent music on the soundtrack a couple times. So I give it that. But yeah, some of the dialogue, as we've already said, you can just kind of.
Just someone who's exactly the same age as Diablo Cody, I don't know what she saw growing up that I didn't.
So Jennifer wants Needy to come with her to this bar for a show for this band Low Shoulder, because she has the hots for the lead singer and wants to make out with him or have sex with him or whatever. So Needy kind of doesn't want to go because she wants to hang out with her boyfriend Chip. But of course, as quote friends do, Jennifer sort of bullies her into deciding to go out with her that night. And this is like the first indication that they really are not good friends and probably should have stopped hanging out a long time ago. But as you pointed out, Gina, like they don't have any other friends, so they're sort of stuck with each other.
Right.
Otherwise, they had to hang out with Chip.
Yeah. I mean, they don't really know, their friendship has sort of run its course. You have Needy kind of dealing with the complications of having sort of a romantic attraction to Jennifer, one that Jennifer is very much aware of, but I think may kind of use it more as something to hold over her rather than returning her feelings in kind.
Yeah.
So they sort of have, I think that they need each other more than they like each other at this point. And in that regard, it's very much like a romantic relationship that's sort of run out of steam where, okay, I really don't, want this person in my life anymore, but what am I going to do? Be without them? That's an even weirder idea.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah.
I want to point out at this point, just for no particular reason, that because this is a script and clearly not, I mean, like it's hyper realistic in a lot of ways and hyper fake in a lot of ways. Chip's name is Chip Dove, bad guy who is the leader of the band, Nikolai Wolf. So in case you love subtlety.
Speaking of Chip, I've told this story on the podcast before, and Skinner felt very sorry for me, but I'm going to tell it for you, Gina, because I don't think you've heard it. I don't remember what episode it was on, but for whatever reason, the name Chip, anytime I hear it, makes me think of the fact that when I was a kid, in my and Skinner, please, if you remember this story, I think you.
Is it the fingers?
No, it's not the fingers, which sets up a whole nother thing. No, this is the one where
that was on the Patreon.
when I was in grade school, I can't remember what grade. I think second or third grade. They. Like our teacher asked us all to tell what we wish our names were. So for whatever reason, I don't know why they thought this was a good use of our time. Maybe the teacher was just like, didn't have anything for us to do. It was like, let's just do an activity. And so she went around the room and asked people what they wish their names were. And when she got to me, I said, I wish mine was Chip. And people kind of laughed because it was a dumb name. And the reason why, and I don't think I said this in the class, but I cannot remember, was because I was such a fan of the Not Quite Human movies with Alan Thicke,
wow.
where his son was a robot named Chip. And
good name.
And for some reason I was like, I wish I was a robot and I could do all the things he did. And so that's why I wish my name was Chip.
You were some sort of small wonder.
That's right. But every time I hear the name Chip, that is immediately where my brain goes, and I could not stop. Like, what parent names their child that?
I forget. It's one of those names where
what is it short for?
It's actually I did go to school with a chip. It's the only chip I've ever encountered in real life, despite the fact that it seems to be a inexplicably popular name in movies and television. And for him, it was a nickname for Charles.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Charlie's not good enough, you know?
Yeah, Chuck.
Charles Entertainment Dove.
Oh
man, I'm gonna start going to Chuck E. Cheese's and calling it Chips.
That's the cool. Yeah, that's part of the the makeover to make it hip again.
Chippy Cheese.
Chippy Cheese. That's like a regional dish somewhere. Come on down and try out the Chippy Cheese.
That's Jersey.
Yeah, I'll accept that.
So Needy is getting ready, and she has got on the most late 2000s fashion imaginable, like a weird shirt over another shirt that looks like it should not be that. Like I saw this TikTok recently of this woman kind of going through like quote Y2K fashions, and she was sort of breaking down all the terrible things, and I'm pretty sure one of the outfits she pointed out is the one that Needy is wearing in this scene. And Chip is not a fan of her going out. He seems to be, he's not a bad guy, but there are some things that he says in this early scene that are like struck me as pretty bad.
Because he said Phil Collins was seminal.
well, no, I don't mean whatever. That's fine. But he says he doesn't like her outfit because he can see her front butt. What? What does that mean?
Yeah, everybody's afraid to actually use like grown up words in this. So there's everything is there's a lot of euphemisms for things, and it's like just say what you're trying to say.
Well, he does, because then he says, "I can see your womb." Why are you wearing that?
I get like because of the power structure between Jennifer and Needy, like why she's supposed to be the plain Jane, but also clearly she's not.
Yeah, of course.
But there's only 2 characters in the movie. It just seems weird when other characters see the character in the universe, how they would see them, as opposed to our eyes.
Yeah. So he does,
clearly wants to fuck her.
He does, but he does not get his chance because Jennifer shows up, and he points.
She wants to go out. He wants to go in.
Wow. All right. He does point out here that they don't really have anything in common, which they don't. And so they head off. Oh, there is a line here. Again, I know we've beat it to death, but the dialogue is rough because Jennifer comes in and says, "It smells like Thai food in here. Have you guys been fucking?"
Yeah, that was definitely a stop for a moment to go, I wonder what that means.
What are you saying in that that line?
What does Thai food smell like to people in 2009? It was not that at that time already. Like, this isn't a sushi joke in 92.
I mean, it occurs to me that maybe Diablo Cody is trying to reflect how teenagers sometimes speak in a way that sort of sounds like almost like another language to adults they just don't understand. So, for the audience's sake, I'm just going to have these characters just say stuff and just leave the audience to sort of trying to comprehend what they mean by that.
Maybe I'll give her the benefit of the doubt there with that. And it's not that she wants to say that Jennifer might be a little racist.
Well, there is that too. Again, she's even before she is possessed by a demon or a succubus or whatever you want to take away. She's not a nice person.
Yeah, exactly. She is pretty rotten. So they go to this dive bar. Melody Lane is the dive bar for the rock show. And this is the first time where I was like, yikes at the R word being thrown around, because they do that a lot. We get a little bit more casual racism here, where she wonders if the Indian exchange student is circumcised or not. And and we get our one little scene with Chris Pratt, who shows up here. He is a deputy, or he's an officer in training, I guess.
Yeah, he's like a police cadet. And he definitely. I will say that this bar scene is a high point of the movie beyond the terrible dialogue, because it does actually get that small town shitty dive bar look.
For sure.
It's very, very accurate. Yeah. And you've got that, every small town's got that one guy who is becoming a cop, and that becomes his entire personality. And he doesn't realize that he's not quite there yet and doesn't have the ability to arrest people, but he's still throwing his weight around.
Of course.
That all is very, very true to life and very well done.
Yeah, for sure. And so the band comes out, they see them come up, and the reason that Jennifer is so keen to go is because she's been following the lead singer on MySpace, which was a nice little 2009 throwback.
He's very salty, which does not mean what salty means now, as it turns out.
No.
Boy, that was weird, trying to wrap my brain around a word changing like literally like about the next year.
To my knowledge, it has never actually meant that someone is good looking. It's
someone is just like sweaty tasting. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's another one where I think she just kind of pulled a word out of the air to use because she didn't want to have a teenager say, "Well, he's really cute." I don't know.
We're at an early we're at the point now where in 2009 where we make 911 jokes.
Yes,
jokes.
This is my favorite joke in the entire movie, is that she goes up to Adam Brody, Nikolai, the lead singer of the band, and offers to buy him a drink. And she says, it's a 9/11 tribute shooter that's red, white, and blue, but it turns brown if you don't drink it fast enough. And I thought, that's really fucking solid. I love that joke.
Yeah, I like that one too.
I didn't see it coming. That's what amused me about it.
Yes, for sure. I mean, I kind of wonder what was that first movie that felt comfortable enough, like a big budget, kind of like out in the mainstream movie that felt comfortable enough to do a 9/11 joke. Like, I kind of wonder at what point we hit that threshold where like it's okay to make jokes about this horrible thing because that's how we're sort of dealing with it. Like, I know comedians were doing it probably the next week, but like in actual big movies, I kind of wonder what that was.
I have never seen any of these, and I never will because I don't watch movies and I don't like prank stuff. But like, I picture the Jackass guys getting in like fucking shopping carts and then going down a hill into a big model-sized twin towers.
They did not ever do that, but it would be funny if they did, but they never.
I'm sure
did.
Some people would find that very funny. Very funny.
But no, they were mostly pretty respectable.
They were pretty respectful about
They were,
the
honestly. I mean, they kind of were.
Well, I think that might be another why some of the negativity towards this movie is because it does try very hard to push the envelope in a lot of ways. And there's a lot of pretty unpleasant sexual humor in it. And as you pointed out, there's some racial humor. And I suspect that if these were not all, in all female-led production, people might have been more willing to overlook it. But because it wasn't, then people kind of focused on that they're trying too hard or that they're trying to be overly edgy, and that's a fair argument to make. I think there are times in the movie where it's trying too hard at times.
I think they try a little too hard with the feminine product jokes, but at the same time, I can see guys overreacting to that.
Right.
Like, yeah, the tampon joke later, not great, but also probably guys don't want to hear that after like anything, especially in 2009.
Yeah.
Right. And I do think that a male writer and a male director, I don't know if I want to use the phrase they would have gotten away with it. I don't know that people would have harped on it as much.
There would be skewering women who finally getting their comeuppance at that point.
Yeah.
So she goes off to get the drinks, And we overhear Nikolai talking to one of his band members about needing to find a virgin. And he kind of points out Jennifer, and the original band, or the other band member, thinks he's talking about Needy, but he's like, no, that girl, the one who's going to get me a drink, because every small town has one like her, where she throws it out there in front of your face, but has never actually given it up to anybody. And like, she's sort of this
is dudes trying to convince themselves, like in life, like, oh, I like her because she shows off a lot of skin, but also I can convince myself that I'm going to be her first.
Yeah. I think that, like, as you were saying earlier, Gina, like, if this had come out a little later in time, like, I think that that kind of stuff would hit better. Cause I think this scene has that sort of double speak that movies can do pretty well, where they're sort of talking about one thing, they mean something else, but then in the meta sense, this is about a bigger thing. Like you're saying, Skinner, they're convincing themselves of this thing that, like, of course she's a virgin because of this idea I have in my head of what it's
about
supposed
hot girls
to be.
In small towns.
Yeah.
Like I it's based on nothing. I'm not from a small town. I actually don't know this. I'm just picking the hot girl, but I'm just finding reasons to justify it, to feel like I'm like the expert on women when I'm clearly not. I'm just a shitty band member who needs the devil to get any popularity whatsoever.
And if they had
exactly.
and if they had picked Needy, like the other guy said, everything would have worked out just fine. And they
for them,
that's what I mean. Is it like, they picked the wrong person, and so ultimately it leads to their downfall in a bit of a roundabout way, which I have slight issues with how that wraps up. But she overhears this. Needy overhears them talking, and she kind of goes and tells them off a little bit. And she tells Jennifer not to bother with them because they only want her because she's a virgin. She's like, no, of course I'm not, and I'm not even a backdoor virgin anymore, thanks to Chris Pratt's character. So, and she tells us that she had to sit on a bag of frozen peas the entire day afterwards.
Yeah.
That edgy humor, the way that teens talk.
Teens love frozen peas. full of green penis.
So the band starts playing their song that you'll hear a lot throughout the movie. And I was kind of wondering here, does Nikolai have some sort of magic powers? Because he certainly seems to have put Jennifer under some kind of spell, but I'm not sure if that's like just her being enthralled by this hot guy, or it's that there is something like weird going on, because she does seem completely out of it, even when the entire building catches on fire.
Yeah, no, I think that he has put her under some. I think he does have some vague mind control.
Does he spike her drink off screen?
Maybe. I mean, it's. I guess it's possible that he could have slipped something into her drink, but I didn't know that they actually had devil powers yet. So I don't like. It was hard to know for sure if they were either already.
If they had just saying abracadabra, it would have been made it more clear what was happening here. That he was going to reach out and grab her.
But yeah, so while they're playing, the building catches on fire, and it's wild because this movie's been pretty sort of normal and very teen movie like up to this point, and then there are people on fire, screaming, running around, stuff falling on them, and the building is burning and exploding. It's pretty wild, and they get outside. Needy is able to get Jennifer outside, and the Nikolai finds them and takes Jennifer off to his van, and she sort of goes willingly, but she's sort of out of it.
I did like him going like, I'm in survival mode, in the most calm possible way ever.
Yeah. We should get somewhere safe, and right now my van is the safest place.
Not even trying to sound like convincing or sincere.
No, of course not. So they leave Needy behind as the restaurant burns and explodes. In quite a nice shot, I thought. Her looking sort of panicked and nervous while the building is blowing up behind her was kind of cool. And I did like Adam Brody's very casual delivery of all that stuff while these explosions are happening behind him. Like he's just completely non-fazed by the whole thing. And Needy goes home and she calls her boyfriend and she's very like concerned about what happened. And then she thinks someone rings the doorbell and she thinks that there's someone there. She goes down and in very sort of slasher movie style, she goes outside and there's nobody there. And she hears something and she goes inside and, dripping faucets and all the sort of, stereotypical things you would expect, and goes to turn it off and turns around and there's, Jennifer completely covered in blood and looking pretty rough, and proceeds to open the fridge and just eat a rotisserie chicken. Like she just starts going through the fridge like she's E.T. or something, just digging food out and like eating.
Hey, her mom got that from Boston Market.
and I'm not supposed to eat it, is basically what she's trying to say before Jennifer screams at her and barfs black goo all over the floor.
Yeah, black goo that has like things in it.
Yeah, like
spikes.
Weird spikes. Which doesn't really get explained, I don't think. Like I was wondering if they were going to bring that back of like, oh, it can't touch you because if it touches you, it does something to you, but like, or it burns you or something, but it just appears to be gross black goo that is just nasty.
This is like where one of my favorite things about this movie that kind of goes with like kid shows, or like my daughter watches some animes where like the kids are doing just fantastical things, but they still fucking go to school every day. Where like all this shit happens. Like Jennifer, from this point on, is pretty much aware that she's a monster. And she has superpowers and she needs to kill people. She keeps going to fucking school.
It's like the Persona games.
The Twilight kids. They've been going to high school for like 75 years.
Yeah, when you're a demon, you do not have to go to school anymore. If anyone calls you on it, you can just eat them. Like you don't have to do those things. Now, I understand her thought process maybe is that if she stays in school, then she can get close to people that she can kill. But yeah, you could just pick those people anytime.
She could.
That's right. Yeah, she could. I feel like Devil's. What is this place called? Devil's Canyon, Devil's Falls,
Devil's Kettle,
Devil's Hole, Devil's Kettle. That's
Kettle.
Right. I feel like Devil's Kettle is the kind of place where they don't have homeless people.
Move.
Like they throw them into that hole.
I thought when she pukes out those black spikes, it's to make sure that, homeless people don't camp overnight in those areas.
Very efficient.
She's elected mayor in no time. So basically the next day, Jennifer does sort of attack Needy here. And I thought that she was repelled by like a necklace, or I thought it was like a crucifix, but no, it's just a BFF necklace. So that didn't really make any sense. There's no reason why she stops, but she does. And she's supposed to still kind of like Needy compared in the way that she doesn't really like anybody. Yeah,
but she likes her better than most.
Yeah, that's true.
And in that way of like friends, you don't, even though you don't get along with them anymore, you don't like somewhere in your lizard brain, like this person's on my team.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
I like him like I like Toastums.
Well, so that's an interesting point because so Jennifer is now possessed by a demon. We can just reveal that. But like the demon is not controlling her, so it's not making her do things. She's just doing them because she knows she has to. So I was wondering how that all worked.
She's basically a vampire.
Right. When she has to stay fed or she starts basically like withering.
Yes. Yeah. So that
she's a sunshiny vampire. She can go in the sunshine.
Yeah, she's out of it, but she leaves. And the next day at school, everybody, of course, is talking about the fire. And Jennifer shows up and she seems perfectly fine. Like, she doesn't seem off at all. She looks very normal. But she's also as mean as she ever was. And then we get to, the aforementioned great J.K. Simmons playing a character that is very unlike characters he plays now. He is not gruff and angry and super buff. He just looks like a normal guy. Mr. Robluski, I think is his name. And Gina, you mentioned that he has a hook for a hand, but he also has what looks like burns on his neck. And I think that maybe he got caught in a fire when he was younger, and that's why he's missing a hand, and maybe that's why he has burns on his neck. And like, because he talks about because he says, like, we can't let the fire win, and Jennifer goes, well, the fire already won. And I'm wondering if he like had some, like, there was like some trauma for him when he was younger, that he got caught in a fire, and he now is like kind of got Frankenstein's monster syndrome, where he is like fire bad.
I mean, honestly, like, if any character in the movie just shows up with a hook for a hand, I hope I prefer it when it's just never explained.
Right. Like, don't make a graphic novel about where the hook came from.
As a DVD extra, probably. As a woodshop accident. But yeah, he's there. He is by far best character in the movie because it's J.K. Simmons. So how could he not be? He's got this great curly wig on that it just looks so unlike what you're used to seeing him. It's great.
He's very sensitive. We're still. I mean, South Park is long past its peak, and now it's long past its peak.
But they're getting those 20 movies.
Content is king. Content is king. We're so long past basketball, but like this is still in the like sensitive teachers are lame and funny.
Yes.
Moment.
Yeah, you're right.
Teachers who want to help you and be emotional and have you emotionally connect with things and have support from them are the worst fucking people, and they're funny. But like, remember how like movies before 9/11 like told you that if anything happened in New York, everyone would just shrug and keep walking?
Yeah.
This to me felt like before there were school shootings all the time, and there still was at this point, but still, it wasn't like a daily thing. Like, high school students they don't give a shit about anything. That the sensitive teacher who's trying to connect with them about what's going on in their school is a character of comedy.
Yeah.
And it turns out it's, actually horrifically traumatic for kids.
Well, and that is reflected in the movie. I mean, most of the students seem pretty broken up about the fire, but Jennifer,
that's why it's so weird.
That they do that.
Comedy character for help for like we're supposed. I think as audience we're supposed to laugh at him for trying to help them, but yeah, like all the other minor characters are actually upset that the stereotype characters are dying.
But they also kind of later on in the movie, they move past it. They're like, well, it doesn't matter now. Cause she says like, emotion and feeling was last week's thing. And now we're on to something new. And it just reminded me of what we're going through right now, which is just, people don't care. It just keeps happening.
Well,
and we keep dying, and no one's too concerned.
God, we're recording this so far in the past. Imagine how many things have happened between when we record.
Yeah, that is true. We are recording this a little in advance of the time you're hearing it, so we might all be dead at this point. Sorry, that's tasteless. But so we get a scene here where I think Needy talks to Chip and says that something's wrong with Jennifer, and this is when we meet our goth guy Colin, who just comes up.
I like Colin.
He comes up and tells Needy that he's glad she didn't die, like right in front of her boyfriend, in a very sort of
a great line,
flirtatious way.
The balls in this guy to do that
yeah
is so great, and like the dismissiveness of the fact that Chip was even there, I really liked it. because I like the idea that like, yeah, like it's you know, the jock is kind of thinking with his dick, but like the sensitive emo guy also kind of doing this to get ladies.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that's what you do apparently.
You just pick a lane and then you go hard.
Speaking of football player Jonas, he was pretty upset in the classroom about the fire because one of his friends died in the fire, and he's kind of standing off by himself on the football field, and Jennifer is approaching him from the left. And suddenly she is right next to him on the right, which I liked. I liked that a lot because he's standing there off by himself. She's very far away, walking up to him. And then we cut close to him and she comes in from the other side. And he does kind of a double take of like, how did she get there? And she tells him that she saw Craig, his friend who died, and he told her that she and Jonas would make a banging couple. So they should go out. And she takes him into the woods and near the school, and they start making out. And then all these animals show up and start watching them, which was pretty great, like really unnerving. And I kind of wish that there had been more of that kind of stuff. Like this
that was a good moment. And later when she's in the abandoned house with what's his face, the emo guy, like rats start coming in, and again I feel that's probably a callback to Dracula. Yeah. I'm not sure, but it's a good effect.
But yeah, they got all these animals, like some deer show up and some squirrels and some like beavers and the fucking Antichrist fox, and like all these animals are just there watching them. And she's like, well, he's like, whoa, this is weird. And she's like, they're waiting. And she starts taking her clothes off and tears his shirt open. And she, says that he shouldn't worry about Craig because he'll get to meet him again really soon. And then, bears these weird demonic fangs and goes in for the kill. And we get a nice, fun little scene here where we can hear him screaming, and we see J.K. Simmons' character getting into his car to leave for the day, and he thinks it's this kid just letting out his frustrations with everything that's going on. And he's like, let it all out, kid. And it isn't until the guy keeps screaming that he realizes there's something wrong and goes to investigate and finds him ripped into pieces and being nibbled on by a deer. Which there's some decent gore in this if you're kind of into horror for that kind of thing. I think they do a pretty good job. They have some nice gore throughout.
Oh yeah.
And we get kind of a through line from this point forward of Low Shoulder, the band, being very popular now suddenly. Needy hears them on the radio talking about how they saved a bunch of people at the bar, but how like it was really the town that did all the good work. And they of course get the name of the town wrong, just like I did earlier. They call it like Devil's Hole or something, I think. And then we get Needy's mom, Amy Sedaris, who is barely in this movie and barely does anything.
Yeah, she's in it for like about 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's so
that
weird.
Was kind of her that's kind of what her deal was to a degree in the mid 2000s to 20.
Kind of, yeah. She would just show up in random little parts and would not be funny in some of them. Like, not because Amy Sedaris is not funny. Amy Sedaris is hilarious. I mean,
you just completely fucking said that and you're a dick, but thanks.
And she says that she had a bad dream about people nailing Needy to a tree like JC. And I was like, I wonder if that's going to come back. Like, I was curious if that was going to be like a thing that like she had some sort of weird vision, but no, I guess she's just kind of a bit of a religious nut, and that's it, I guess.
I think a movie that was trying to do this more as a straight horror or trying to make less of a feminist point would have included a storyline where the town thinks that Needy is doing the killing. And Jennifer's trying to pin everything on her.
I assume that by the end of the movie that is what the conclusion is that
the conclusion would be, but they don't spend the whole movie making you like Needy's got enough problems with her boyfriend dying, but like, you know, her personal relationship with Jennifer being bad because she's a bad person and now she's also a succubus. But like, it doesn't need the whole town turning against her thing. But like, these movies love, in general, whole town turns against the main character.
Yeah.
Right.
Stuff. But it also feels like there's not many people in this town. Like,
there's a couple less now.
It feels like, I mean, this town has an entire like condemned neighborhood that Jennifer can just set up shop in later.
I've been in northern Minnesota up by Superior Shore, and yeah, that's, you know, there's the one grocery store which sucks, and there's the one that's empty.
Oh man. So that is accurate. All right. And so Jennifer seems to be understanding that she is that there's something going on with her. We see her like burn her tongue with a lighter, but it heals really quickly.
She's Wolverine.
And we find out about Jonas's death. Everybody like is freaked out because he was, you know, torn apart. And everyone seems really bummed out. I kind of like this shot in the movie too, where it's like feels almost like the saturation is sort of pulled down from everybody in the hallway except Jennifer, who seems almost glowing with how colorful she is and how like upbeat and happy she seems to be.
Yeah.
Is this the only time she's wearing pink?
I think she does it a couple other times, but it just really pops for whatever reason in this scene.
She's well fed, and we all feel better when we're well fed.
That is true.
Yeah.
You know,
she's got that. She doesn't have that low blood sugar.
Yeah.
She's feeling good
anymore.
Right, exactly.
How does this movie not say the word hangry?
I don't know if that was a thing yet. Had they invented that term? Who is that? Is that Slim Jims that started that?
Nathan Rabin did.
J.K. Simmons comes in and says that Low Shoulder is going to release the single Through the Trees, because that's apparently become sort of the anthem of the fire and everything, as a charity single, with 3% going to those affected by the fire.
It's pretty great.
That's pretty solid, because they could have left it there, but they do have Needy go, where's the what about the other 97%? You know, that's pretty bad. And then she gets into a fight with someone in class who is siding with the band and saying that they were heroes and that it's great that they're doing even this much. And it's like, yeah, this feels very like, I do feel like, yeah, if it had come out a little later, that joke would have hit real hard right now, because that is like a thing that seems to happen all the time. Hey, they're giving $10,000. Oh, really? That's like 0.01% of their annual income.
Hey, they could be doing nothing. What are you doing? Let me defend these rich males.
Yeah. What am I doing? I'm not giving that much from my salary.
I haven't given a single Bitcoin to anybody, Josh.
Another good joke here is that Colin comes up to Jennifer and Needy, and Jennifer's looking real rough right now. She's looking paler than usual. Her skin looks kind of bad. She talks about how she feels really drained and her hair is really brittle. And Colin comes up to them in the hallway and kind of stammers around asking Jennifer out to Rocky Horror. But she says, I don't like boxing movies.
Yeah, there's another joke earlier where Needy claims she doesn't know who Phil Collins is. And yeah. I'm like, I don't know that in 2009 a teenager would not at least have some vague knowledge
with the Lion King.
Oh yeah,
right,
for sure.
I mean,
and
Rocky Horror was still kind of a well-known thing in 2009,
for sure. And also, I think with the Phil Collins thing, we were at that point of everybody knowing the big drum breakdown from In the Air Tonight. So I feels weird that she wouldn't know who that is. But the Rocky Horror thing, still funny.
If you're going to continue to if you're going to name drop Phil Collins in the movie, at some point in the movie, you have to do that drum.
Play a Phil Collins song. Let's see it. Let's
She needs to stalk some. I know the bright sunshiny day as a punk song is funny. I know it's funny, but
it's not.
I can feel it coming in the air tonight when she's stalking some dude. Would be pretty great.
Sure. And this movie is named after a whole song, and they play a whole song in the credits, but not the song that it's named after. That infuriates me.
I like when you say whole song in my head. I know we talked about it in the mini episode, but still, I think you're saying WHOLE. Like they name the movie after an entire song.
She kind of turns him down at first, but it seems weird. Like it seems like she only seems to want Colin after Needy talks about how much she likes him and how he seems like a good guy. It's like this weird thing where she only seems to want this guy that Needy is sort of interested in. And
that's why later we have more on that a little bit later.
Yeah. And it's like she kind of is also interested in Chip a little bit, but only because of Needy's interest in him. But we get this dual kind of moment here where we have Needy and Chip together and they're having sex for the first time. It certainly seems like the first time. Feels like the first time.
I was going to say, this is not a sexy sex scene.
No,
but
it's accurate. It's good for them for getting it right.
I like that it starts off like it's gonna be one, and then it's like not as far as MacGruber, but it's about one step to the 10 steps of that, where his butt going up and down at a really bad camera angle, and you hearing a little too much.
But who hasn't seen an eviscerated classmate during their first time having sex?
I don't know that we mentioned earlier that apparently Needy and Jennifer have some sort of like Needy can tell when these things are happening.
Is this explained?
No, there's a lot of interesting ideas that are offered up in the movie that really aren't fleshed out as much as they should be.
I think the explanation for that, and I could be wrong, but I think the explanation is when we see the flashback to them as kids and Jennifer stabs her hand and there's blood on it. And then Needy kisses it. And I'm wondering if that's some sort of weird mix of their DNA or emotions or whatever you want to call it, their blood that ties them together in a certain way.
Was that finger her Horcrux? What are we talking about here?
But yeah, so they have sex and it's not great because she starts seeing she starts seeing the torn apart Jonas, and she sees Jennifer looking really weird, and she starts freaking out, and Chip
doesn't really notice.
He doesn't notice at first.
He notices it, but then he thinks that she's she's really into it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
And
has he never watched a movie?
And finally he does stop, but he stops to say, did I hurt you? Am I too big?
Oh God, when he says, dude, I hurt you, and then he kind of stops saying, he kind of smirks like, hey, and it's like, oh, Chip, you gross son of a bitch.
Yeah. They're chipping away at his good guy image.
I mean, they're making sure that you're pretty much okay when he's dead.
There are no truly good male characters. I mean, I guess the
J.K.
teacher,
Simmons, that's it.
He's not bad. He's just kind of ineffective.
Sure.
But at least there's not a scene where he is actually trying to hit on one of the female students or anything like that.
Exactly.
I mean, Chip just all he he has some problems. He's not a great guy. He really wants to get laid. He doesn't listen to his girlfriend enough. But like, man, if he had just gone to sea and gone into whaling, that guy can throw a javelin like no fucking one's business. So that scene made no sense, by the way, when we get there.
So we at the same time that this is happening, we're cutting back and forth to Colin, who's going over to Jennifer's place. She said instead of going to the movie, just come to her place. And he's in this dark, kind of seemingly abandoned neighborhood. The house that she told him to go to has a light on upstairs, but it seems to be boarded up outside. There's boards across the doors. He finds a window that's open and climbs through and has to walk through a bunch of plastic sheeting. And this just shows how far a guy will go if he thinks he's going to get some pussy, I guess.
Yeah, it's like, as one does. Yeah, it wouldn't occur to you that, I'm being set up for some sort of prank or anything like that. You just, I'm going to go right in. This seems fine.
The super popular girl who never has only ever been kind of antagonistic to me up until this point, probably wants to have sex with me in a dilapidated building, in the dilapidated section of town.
Yeah. Yeah, the town where there's no lights outside. And
I mean, this is like Stephen King level, like, this is a part of the town where the vampire tragedy happened and no one lives there anymore.
Yeah, this is a town that, like, for whatever reason in The Leftovers, everybody disappeared from and they just left it as it was.
It's odd,
yeah,
but it's visually arresting.
Yeah, he goes upstairs in this house and he finds this candlelit room, and Jennifer is there. She kind of startles him, and they start kissing and everything, and then suddenly her face kind of changes. It morphs into this sort of slightly demonic visage, and she breaks his hand. And kind of reveals that she needs, I guess, her prey to be frightened and feel hopeless. And I guess that's when they taste better. So it is very vampire-like. Like, I want you scared, so you're
Pennywise.
Or Pennywise. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's very true. And she starts kind of tearing him apart and ripping him apart. And when we cut back after we've sort of done this cross-cutting, she's just sitting in front of his dead body, just scooping blood out of it with her hand and drinking it up, which I thought was a very funny little visual. And Needy obviously was very put off by the visions of dead Jonas and evil-looking Jennifer, so she kind of leaves Chip's house and is driving off when she sees Jennifer come out of the woods covered in blood, walking on all fours a little bit, which is pretty unnerving, and kind of swerves to try to avoid hitting her, and Jennifer lands on the car and breaks the window, and it's like a whole thing, and she eventually gets away from her and goes home, and of course finds Jennifer there in her bed. And this is when they have their sort of big makeout scene, which I think was like a very controversial thing when this movie came out.
Yeah. I think people didn't really know what to make of it.
Yeah, like it's brought up in like every review on Wikipedia, like to the point where like someone like mentions it's like the best woman on woman kiss in movie and so many like, it's not the centerpiece of the movie by any stretch, but like they sure do got to bring it up. I mean, it's thematically in line with the rest of the movie. It is not, I don't think it's in there to like just to titillate men.
No,
I think like
for sure
it goes with the rest of the plot of just the swing back and forth between Jennifer doing something crazy and then just being herself, which, even before she was like, I love the idea that the character who like gets possessed by the devil, but doesn't really change.
Right. She's not all that different.
She's not like, it's not a character like, oh my God, she's so different. She's changing. She's getting more. No, she's just always been a dick.
Yeah. But yeah, they kiss, and it feels like there's like I was talking about earlier with Nikolai and the concert. It feels like there's some sort of like pull or spell or something that causes Needy to continue to kiss her. Like there's something weird going on, and eventually kind of Needy snaps out of it and doesn't know what's going on. And so Jennifer kind of explains what happened to her. She reveals sort of to Needy.
She gives the plot.
Yeah, Needy and the audience basically what happened. And it's that Low Shoulder are agents of Satan, and they take her to the falls to sacrifice her to the devil so that they can be popular. Like,
because it's very hard to get anywhere as an indie band in 2009.
Yeah.
Because they want to be of all people, they want to be like Maroon 5.
Yeah, that was I mean
that's still true though. That one hasn't aged.
Yeah, that's true. It hasn't. I mean, I guess
I can see Nikolai hosting the Voice.
I want to be in one of those big chairs, and I want to turn around, and I want to be happy to see this person who's singing a song.
Pull my arms apart real wide, like I'm gonna hug the air.
So yeah, they stab her a bunch of times, and they throw the knife into the water, and she doesn't remember what happened after that. She wakes up and makes her way back to Needy because that's the one thing that she can kind of remember. We also see that the exchange student that we talked about earlier, Ahmet, he did not, in fact, die in the fire like everyone believed. He actually was okay. He survived, and he comes across Jennifer after she returns from the dead, and she eats him. And she reveals that when she's full, she's basically unkillable. Like she can't be hurt. So she stabs herself, and it kind of heals. And yeah, so she sort of lays out everything about her. And
don't they, when they're stabbing her, do the 8675309 thing?
Yes, they do, because her name is Jennifer, and so they start singing.
I didn't want that great joke to really just not be mentioned by you, Josh. So thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you for getting that in there. I was gonna just breeze right past it because it was like, okay, fine. And so yeah, we kind of go through the rest of the school year. They have Colin's funeral. And Needy starts doing some paranormal research and kind of discovers that, she's probably some sort of succubus of some kind, and that she...
Okay. I mean, it's 2009. I know we're still in MySpace time, but she didn't Google it, or she didn't Yahoo it, or she didn't ask Jeeves it.
It is weird that she doesn't do any research on the internet.
At all. Like... Wikipedia's been around for 8 years by this point. Like I know it's not.
And they make a Wikipedia joke earlier in the movie.
Yeah, but she has to go to the school's occult section, which is small.
I wish that, because by her not using the internet, it robbed me of one of my favorite things in movies: fake search engines.
Yes, I love them.
Good.
Snapgofindit.com.
She would have Googled something, and the result would have came back with a video first, like that she couldn't even stop. Like the result is nothing to click on. Like she looks up possession, and all of a sudden, she sees an actual snuff film,
or it's like a newspaper clipping or something like that.
Yeah, a video the size of a postage stamp that she has to load in Real Player to watch. But yeah, so she does a bunch of research, and she kind of finds out that, demons are at their weakest when they're hungry, and a sword to the heart will kill them. And she lays out to Chip that what Jennifer is, and basically says that if a non-virgin is sacrificed, a demon can then inhabit her body, and she must eat flesh to stay sort of young and vibrant, which is a cool idea. I'm sure that's been done in other media that I don't totally know about, but I think it's a cool idea to do something like that. And
I still think it's cool that she's still just Jennifer.
Yes,
that just it it makes if she had changed, the whole movie's plot would have not worked.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So she's still who she was. She just has a demon inside her now. Like it's not like it can be exorcised from her either, which I thought was interesting.
She just gets the munchies.
Yes.
Yeah, like it's never a point of can I save Jennifer?
Yes,
it's never that.
They never go to that point. They never go to an exorcism thing like I'm going to get the demon out of her. Like cuz I already had
She's dead.
Yeah, I already had a suspicion that the demon was somehow going to get into Needy's character. Like I felt like that was going to happen before we got to the end. But I was like, oh, are they going to try any sort of exorcism? They're like, nope, we just got to kill her. Like, I don't like my friend.
Thinks of as her best friend.
Yeah, I don't like her, so I'm going to stab her in the heart with a utility knife.
Where'd she buy it from?
Home Depot. So she kind of tells Chip basically that she doesn't want him to go to the big spring dance because she's afraid that Jennifer will be there and will be able to just pick off lots of people. And this causes them to kind of break up because, things are not going well. And so, we kind of start moving towards the dance, which I thought was going to be the conclusion, but it is not, which is interesting that we don't even really like we go to the dance just because Needy is there looking for Jennifer, but Jennifer never arrives. We
like Needy's dress.
What was that? Like,
yeah, that was not a 2009 dress.
No,
I know that's the joke, but also where would she get it?
I don't know. Maybe that was her mom.
Is she supposed to be poor, or is that the
they
joke
can afford
here?
Boston Market. At least mom can.
I mean, their house looks fine.
Yeah, their house looks nice. She has she doesn't have like shitty clothes or anything. Like she seems normal. Like her room is nice. Like it's not like it.
Because like for a character who is supposed to be a plain Jane kind of loser at school, people make fun of for being a lesbian gay for her best friend. Like she's in like a creative writing club. No one else has friends either. She knows as many people as anybody does, more than her friend seems to know people. She has a steady boyfriend. She has chicken at home. She can't eat it. But like, there's nothing like that says like she's harder on her luck than anybody else. But yet she apparently is such a loser. She doesn't understand that her mom makes her wear a crazy dress.
Yeah, like an 80s throwback kind of thing.
Like a wedding singer. Like
yes.
That's why she would have saw the wedding singer. She would know this dress. Like why she'd go like, Mom, why am I wearing a dress from that Adam Sandler movie from several years earlier that we rented from Netflix through the mail?
This is an 80s dress by way of people in the 2000s.
Yeah.
And her hair's big, as we did in 2009.
Because I saw her outfit and I was like, oh, does the dance have some sort of like 80s theme? But everybody else is just dressed normal. So I was like,
this is where you have it maybe a 50s theme. Like play Earth Angel. Play Earth Angel.
But like, so she's there. She's at the dance, kind of looking around for Jennifer. But Jennifer is going after Chip, who is heading for the dance through a very foggy field, which feels like, hey man, stick to some well-lit streets, please.
Yeah, I mean, there's a murderer on the loose. Maybe don't walk alone across this foggy football field.
Yeah, and your girlfriend has told you that it's someone you know, and like probably best to be around people.
Even if you don't believe her, there is a murderer who is literally tearing apart people in your school, literally limb from limb. He has no concerns.
Yeah.
Like he's like, yeah, I mean, that's happening. And my girlfriend said it's specifically this person doing it. And it's specifically what she's doing. And specifically she's may come after me. But you know what? I'm not going to assume any of it because she's just upset that my dick was way too big. He doesn't even so big.
He doesn't even want the mace that his mom gives him. His mom gives him some mace before he leaves.
Good mom.
But it's good that he has it later, even though it doesn't do anything when they use it. So yeah, Jennifer kind of surprises him in the field, and she sort of reveals here she lies here, and she says that the reason that Needy was so upset about Colin is because that she and Colin were having an intimate relationship, and they were doing all sorts of things that that Chip had never even heard of, which I guess makes sense if he thought that his girlfriend's exasperated, groans of pain and torment were sounds of pleasure. I mean, I guess that's pretty accurate.
Maybe he should go. They go to a hospital ward and go like, "Man, everyone's having a great time in here. Just it's so hot."
But she's like, she doesn't, Needy doesn't deserve a guy like you, and she goes in for a kiss, and they kind of, they make out a little bit, and they go.
Don't make out your best friend, even if you don't believe your ex-girlfriend that this girlfriend is a monster. Not the next girl you kiss.
Yeah,
not this girl.
Yeah, don't do this.
No.
This is probably not the best option for you. And they walk off to. I was trying to figure out where this was. Is this like a pool house or something for the school, or is this just
it's a haunted pool?
It's just a haunted pool in the middle of this field.
There's so many aspects of this town. They're just like just crumbling into disintegration.
It is very much like It Follows in Detroit, like where there's just all of these like just homes that are just closed up and falling apart, and like this is just another place where how many kids drowned in that pool before they shut it down?
It feels like there's a Diablo Cody horror universe that we didn't get, that like it would explain parts of this town, why like so much of it seems to be shut down and or haunted and or like not taken apart. We'll leave the water in there, but we won't do anything about it for years.
Yeah. They go inside here, and while this is happening, Needy is at the dance, and of course Low Shoulder shows up and starts playing the dance. They were so nice to do it for free. J.K. Simmons does welcome them and says that he hopes they've eaten some of the pecan sandies and grape drink that they put out for everybody. I loved that. So she realizes that Chip is in danger because of this weird connection that she has with Jennifer.
With she who cannot be named.
And she goes out after them. And, Jennifer wants to kiss Chip again, but he kind of comes to his senses here, and he's like, probably not a good idea, because it's a little weird that, I'm doing this. And of course she just snaps and throws him into the pool and goes after him and tries to like kill him, basically.
She's kind of a water demon all of a sudden here.
Yeah. And Needy comes in to the pool and sees Jennifer biting Chip, and she kind of throws her off, and they get into this big fight. And this is when Jennifer barfs a bunch of black goo on them, which does nothing. But she can fly now. She can fly around. Maybe she always could, but this is our first time seeing her float, basically. And in the face, this is when the dialogue doesn't work. In the face of this horror that you're experiencing, that your wildest suspicions have been proven true, it's terrifying, and Chip points out she can fly now, and she's like, she's just hovering, it's not that impressive. And it's like, stop quipping.
Yeah, or a little bit later, like her really cutting line to Jennifer is, "You're a jerk."
Yeah,
it's such a like this person, like this horrifying thing has happened. Your life has been falling apart. This is like, for better or worse, your best friend since you were a toddler, who is now a monster in front of you, killing your boyfriend, flying in midair, things you never thought, even though half your town is haunted, you never believed was real. But she just has to quip. She has to quip.
Again, it's that sort of, I mean, I hate to bring it up again, but it is very much that Joss Whedon-y thing of like quipping in the face of existential terror.
Right. They're not allowed to be real people.
Yeah.
They're post-ironic, and they, like, you're supposed to turn around your friend and high-five them after they say shit like this.
I mean, I'm surprised there wasn't a, well, that just happened in this.
Oh,
God.
We have distilled it down to that though. They hadn't found the formula where that always works.
Yeah. And they kind of fight here. They have this conversation basically, and Needy kind of calls out Jennifer on sort of being insecure and wanting all these things that she doesn't actually want just because she wants to be sort of the top dog and the most important, and kind of says, we were never really friends here.
You took laxative to lose weight. You could have ate anybody, but you were eating Chip.
Yeah. And
Chip sounds like a food.
And it his blood is the salsa. And Chip in his dying breath stabs her in the stomach with a pool skimmer.
How the fuck does this, like, she is super powerful, super strong. He has no point of leverage. How does he throw an entire pool skimmer through her was hot butter?
I think she's a little weak here because
she has not completed feeding yet.
Yeah,
so she's still vulnerable.
So right now she's like just a piece of paper that he could just with one hand toss a dull object through.
Well, I do wonder why there isn't, like, she isn't just strong all the time, because it seems weird to me that she wouldn't be just picking off people
right now,
left and right. Like it.
Well, we'll get to this in a second, but like she's not on all the time.
Yeah.
Like mentally, like she doesn't know what to do with herself. Like I don't think she ever did, and that's the problem. I don't know what she's trying to. I don't know what they're trying to say with it. Maybe it's above my head, but like they go through all this. Chip dies. The Chip has been dipped in the pool. He's dead.
That chip broke off in the dip. You're never getting it back.
And like Needy is devastated. She's like, her whole life world's fall apart. She's furious. She's upset. And Jennifer just goes back to her room and watches infomercials.
Yeah, we cut back to the beginning of the movie.
She just okay, I did that. Time to reset to whatever I do. And like her whole existence is completely different now, despite the fact. But she has not changed at all. So like whenever she's not so evil that she's gonna feed constantly to be super powerful and be evil, even though she's a demon inside her. But she also she waits until it's something she can eat. Like kind of personally, she wants just to piss off somebody and eat them, and so or like get at her. She's kind of jealous of any attention to her best friend in a certain way, which is part of the whole plot. But like the second she's done, she just kind of hits reset and it's like, guess I'll just lay in the bed in my bedroom and watch Tony Little. Like
yeah,
because Needy's the one who's still like, holy fuck, what just happened? I'm so fucking furious at you. And Jennifer is like, that was like 5 minutes ago. What the fuck ever? What are you still on about that for?
Yeah, she just kind of stumbles off and goes home. And we're back to the beginning of the movie.
She just puts her PJs on and watches TV.
Yeah. And she turns the television off and starts to go to sleep. And Needy jumps through the window. I don't know.
Which is fucking hilarious.
I don't know how she did this. How far back did she have to start running before she could get that speed to go through that window?
I've been watching Olympics all week. Not the time when we're watching this, but
no. We're recording it in October. You've gone back. You're watching.
No, I've gone to peacock.com. I'm watching all the highlights. I just miss the summer so much because of this terrible early winter we're having. But like the amount of people on the planet who could make this jump are like 6. And Needy's one of them.
Because when she's looking through the window earlier in the movie, we just see her head right above the sill from outside. So that means that the window is fairly high off the ground. So she is launching herself through the air to get through this window. And she comes flying inside and they fight and they float around through the air. And just before she lands the killing blow with her Home Depot utility knife, she pulls off Jennifer's BFF necklace and then stabs her right through the heart.
And we got they got the probably the silliest line of dialogue in the whole movie.
Oh yeah,
is when Needy holds up the box cutter. She's like, "Do you know what this is? It's a box cutter. Do you know what it's for?" And she's like, "It's for cutting boxes." And it's like, oh my God, come on.
I thought you were going to stab her in the crotch when she did that.
and again, it's okay. I realize, because it's one of the core aspects of my own podcast, is that in horror movies, the characters a lot of times don't really come off like real people. And I think here, I think it's a deliberate choice to kind of make these characters not really seem like real people who know how to react and behave in this kind of situation. So they're just making jokes and insulting each other and just verbally sparring till the very end.
Do you have a tampon? Because you seem like you're overflow or something.
You sound like you seem like you're plugged, and it's like, oh, come on.
But in theory, this is the emotional heart of the whole movie.
Their relationship is the core of the movie, and it's like
they made it so like there's a complication of like they don't like each other, but they do like each other. Like even Jennifer has something.
It's a frenemy relationship with some sexual undertones, but it's just, I get that you're supposed to feel sort of moved that at the very end it's still just them again, but it's like, all right, then make them actually talk to each other like they do still sort of have warm feelings for each other.
Yeah.
Don't have them with the sparring.
These people who have spent 10,000 hours together for 17 years of their lives.
Yeah.
Show that the friendship that they have with each other does actually mean something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why would the post-credit scene happen if she didn't give a shit? We'll get to that in a second, but why didn't Jennifer do what she does? But this is where I thought in a different movie again, you would do the twist where the person, the family comes in and sees this scene and stuff like that. And it would turn out that it was all in Needy's head, that she's actually the crazy one who's jealous of Jennifer and had made this all up. And we'd see all these scenes of her actually killing all the boys.
I mean, that could totally have happened. I wouldn't have been surprised if something like that had happened. I feel like that's not the way that Diablo Cody would have written it, though. But if this had been written by somebody else, I could totally have seen it going.
If they rebooted this, I could see that happening, like where it's now they're an obsession and I'm wearing her skin thing, and then it's all in my head type deal.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie is, for all its quips, everything, like it is everything on its face value what it is.
Yeah. But yeah, she stabs Jennifer's in the heart, and Jennifer says, "My boob," and she says, "No, your heart."
No, my tit.
Oh, my tit. Excuse me.
You don't hear the singular word tit in movies that often.
And Jennifer dies, and her face turns back to normal. She's no longer pale and sallow. She is regular again. And Jennifer's mom, who we have not seen at all in this movie, walks in and sees what happened and freaks out. And it's just like, where is this character the rest of the movie?
Why hasn't Jennifer eaten her?
Yeah, we have not seen any of Jennifer's home life, which is weird, like at all. Like they don't even allude to it.
I think the choice in that would be like to say like, we didn't show her home life because we're not saying that her home life made her this way.
Sure.
She just is kind of an asshole.
Sure. That makes sense.
We should mention that during their final fight that Jennifer bites Needy.
Yes, that is very important. Because when Jennifer's mom runs in and sees what happened, we cut back to Needy in prison. And while she's in the hole, she reveals that because she got bitten by a demon and lived, she absorbed some of the demon's abilities. So now she can float and she has super strength, which explains her kicking that doctor across the table earlier on in the film. And
apparently she must be getting stronger because she's maybe with her yoga flying there, she's really concentrated her powers.
Yeah.
Though I hear that hovering isn't that impressive.
I think maybe she had been building to something because it's unclear exactly how long she's been in prison. I know she says that everything started happening 2 months prior to when the movie starts, but I don't know how long she's been in jail, if it's only been like a couple weeks or if it's been, a month or who knows, but she, I guess, was building up to decide to get out of prison. So she just kicks out the wall of the prison cell and walks off with no alarms going off or anything. No one seems to care. And as she's walking along the road, she sees something in the water, and it turns out it's the knife from the sacrifice that where Jennifer was killed. And she starts hitchhiking, and a car stops. And this is when Lance Henriksen picks her up. It's so bizarre that he is in this scene. I thought they were going to make him into a creep or something and that she was going to eat him, but he just seems like a nice guy who's just going to give her a lift.
There's a problem with Lance Henriksen just being a nice guy.
Yes, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's like, that's it?
Do you see those cheekbones? Wait a second.
They have a nice little back and forth here where she says she's trying to get to this town because she's following a rock group, and doesn't he say something like, "Oh, it must be a hell of a show. It's going to be a hell of a show," or something like that, or it must be a hell of a band or whatever.
And she says tonight's going to be their last show.
Yeah, and then we complete the film with a credit sequence where we see Low Shoulder partying and hanging out in their hotel.
Letting you know they're a real piece. We already know they sacrificed a girl to become famous to the devil and destroyed her life. They also do drugs. So
yeah, they're
really make sure
real pieces of shit. And
eating sloppy steaks.
And there's a knock on the door, and then we don't see the carnage, but we see the aftermath. They've been completely murdered, ripped apart. The lead singer Nikolai has the same knife buried in his chest, and we see security camera footage of Needy walking away. So it's weird that she does it, that Jennifer doesn't get revenge on them.
Yeah, as far as we know, that Low Shoulder doesn't have any idea what happened. That technically their sacrifice did work, but they apparently don't know that it turned her into a demon.
Yeah,
as far as they know, she's dead.
Yeah.
And there was nothing we're told, but we don't get a huge amount of lore besides her book research and what Jennifer says. But there's no rule that she can't kill them. It's one of those things again, like where you said, where Jennifer could kill and eat a lot of people, but just doesn't. She doesn't leave town. She just goes back to she has no ambition as a demon or a person. She's just trying to be relevant at school. And I'm sure it's saying something there, but then Needy's the one who immediately goes and kills. Needy actually leaves town. Needy goes and kills them. Jennifer never showed any interest in doing literally anything. She just wants to watch infomercials and eat somebody every now and then.
That's all you ever need.
She's, already one night on the town, Needy has a bigger body count.
But she doesn't eat any of them as far as we know.
She doesn't have to. She has all the superpower, but none of the bad stuff.
She's like Blade.
She's a Blade.
But that's going to do it for Jennifer's Body. Like I said up top, I think it's a pretty fun movie for the most part. It's very 2009, but I think it's worth a watch if you've never seen it.
It's 2000 late, honestly.
So thank you, Gina, for joining us for
Sure, my pleasure.
This episode. It was great to have you. You're all over the internet, so please tell our listeners where they can find you.
Well, most importantly, I am the co-host of the Kill by Kill podcast, in which we talk about horror movies, focusing on the characters and the odd little details. By the time this airs, I believe we're going to be covering we're going to do something slightly different. We're going to be covering the Alien movies. We'll have covered Halloween Kills, the new Candyman, pretty much most of the stuff you would expect that's going to be coming out over the next couple of months, so you can look for us there. I also write about movies and television at thespool.net, and I am on Twitter under Porcelain72.
Great. And Skinner, they got rid of Fleets, so what are you up to on the internet?
Well, my entire brand is destroyed now, so what do I even care anymore?
That is going to do it for this episode. Please come back next week when we keep things getting very spooky. It's August when we're recording this, so I'm not fully committed yet, but come back next week when we've got some more spooky stuff coming for you. But until then, I've been Josh.
I've been Skinner.
And I'm Gina.
And we predict you'll join us in hell. Ooh.
Well, that just happened.
If you like the show, subscribe, rate, and review us over at Apple Podcasts. We're on Twitter and Instagram at predictocast, and you can find our entire back catalog at predictocast.com. Our theme music is by Kyle Sledge. Find more of his work at soundcloud.com/geistmusic. As always, thanks for listening.